Business talk. Now, before everyone clicks off like, no, this is boring, here's the thing. This is going to vastly affect the United States, at the very least, with media. It's going to affect a lot of different, I would say, industries, but the one that I focus on this channel is usually media. So entertainment with books, comic books, movies, video games. And at the very least in video games, we have the potential for these games, the creativity around them, the pay around them, and also the business practices of competition to get a lot better. Now, you're going to hear the window is open in the background. If you hear some noise, that's why. Having some allergy problems, figured I'd just get some fresh air in here today. You can let me know if you absolutely hate it. It's probably not something I'll do often. And if you want me to show up in person more in these videos, like on camera, let me know, because that's something I'd like to do. It just didn't work out today for time. But this is happening because the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has actually issued a final rule that will ban employers from enforcing fresh non-compete rules. And non-compete, like you sign it and it's a contract. I think that's the word I was looking for. Now, if you don't know what non-compete clauses are, in the United States, at the very least, they are these things that make it so that if you quit a job or you leave a job for some reason, you're not able to go into another job in the same field for a certain amount of time. I always thought this was really stupid. I actually never understood how this wasn't like a unconstitutional rule. You know, I never understood that, because to me, when you have things like, you know, pursuit of happiness and freedom and all these things in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, all these different founding paperwork pieces that are supposed to protect our rights in the United States, at the very least. Because I always thought the idea of like, hey, Bob, you know, you were being really mistreated at Degenerate J Game Studios. You know, that Degenerate J guy, he was hitting on you. He was, you know, maybe doing a little unwanted touching and stuff. But you felt like you had to stay there because if you quit, well, you wouldn't be able to go work at your new job you wanted at Magical Jill Studios. You wouldn't be able to get that because your non-compete clause you signed basically made it so you couldn't leave. And there actually were a lot of, some people are going to say, well, no, that's not how it works, because if you were being abused in some way, you know, you can get out of there. But there were actually a lot of people who actually wrote into the FTC straight up saying like, hey, I was in an abusive situation at my work. Maybe I couldn't prove it, or maybe it was a religious disagreement where like I had religious beliefs and then a new founder or new studio heads, or there was a merger or something came in and they had different ones that conflicted with mine, but I was unable to leave and, you know, feel like secure in my religious beliefs. I was unable to leave and find another job. They were getting all kinds of written in stuff like that, you know, where basically they were getting all of these feedback papers, or should I say feedback messages from people, because they did ask for them, saying like, hey, I've been stuck at this company, unable to leave, because if I leave, I will have no job. And if you don't know much about not having a job in the United States, I don't know how it works everywhere else. I would assume pretty similar, but if you have no job, a lot of times it's pretty hard to get money without, you know, robbing banks, which is pretty frowned upon, and otherwise you're going to be homeless. So a lot of people were basically stuck at jobs that they couldn't leave, could not go to better opportunities. You know what that also leads to, other than a security net for abusers, for people who are smart about abusing their workers in many different ways, by the way, psychologically, physically, sexually, anything. You know what it does other than give those people a safety net? It also limits creativity. Because if you're working at, I'm going to make it up again, you know, Degenerate J Games, and you have a great idea, you're like, hey, I have this great idea for a game, but nobody at Degenerate J Games wants it, you can't go to Magical Jill Games and do it, because you can't leave. Even if they want you at that new company, you can't leave. And it's really just a messed up situation I always found unconstitutional and ridiculous, but money talks. Luckily, this is one of the few times where it seems like our government actually did something worth a damn, and it looks like this is going to be on its way out. A lot of video game, basically people in media, developers, artists, whatever, you know, piece of the puzzle you are, because they all matter very much, they were pretty much all celebrating this. The only people that I think this is going to affect negatively are work abusers, you know, people in positions of power like executives that abuse the people under them and make it so that they can't go and find anything else. Or on the other hand, instead of just abusers, just executives in general that don't want to lose people. Because here's the thing, even if your executive or your boss or whatever is not abusive towards you, they also have the ability to set your pay, to mess with your, all of the things around your job, like benefits and things like that. There are a lot of ways that executives and bosses can hurt or help you depending on what they see fit. Also, this affects competitive pay. Because if you are a game developer who is very good at what you do, or a movie writer or anything, right, you should be able to get what you're worth. You should be able to say, well, hey, this company is not paying me well. This other company will pay me better. And what's weird about non-compete clauses is that if you look at it, right, I'm going to make up a situation again. If you have someone working at Walmart and then, Target ups their pay and they're offering $2 more an hour, there's no non-compete clause preventing that, daily grind retail worker from going to the place paying $2 more an hour, right? That's how you get competitive pay. That's how you get competition. That's how you get workers' rights enforced. Because the other company is supposed to, and usually doesn't in this country, unfortunately, is supposed to want to be better than the guy next door. You want to be the best place to work. Now, obviously, as well, you're not going to be like, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year to stock shelves, because these companies would go bankrupt. But within reason, you want to be the best place to work, the best place to shop, the best producer of whatever good you're making, art or not. And when it came to video games, movie studios, a lot of these places, it was really, really bad, because there was no incentive to be the best place to work, because as soon as you got someone in and they signed a contract, they're screwed. They are stuck there. That's it. I never understood how this was allowed. So I'm really glad to see that this is something that the government is actually moving against. Now, here's the sad reality. Before Debbie Downer 1202 says this in the comments, I understand that there are a lot of lawyers that work for rich companies that are going to try and find a way around this. But this is a first step moving towards, I believe, a better future for creatives. And if there is a better future for creatives in our society, with automation taking over more manual labor jobs and creativity being one of the things that I think human society is pushing more and more towards, I think that's going to be a good thing for everybody. It's going to lead to better art, even if you're in a different industry in your downtime, better video games, better movies. This is something that I think could really push for a better future and more enjoyable things in our world. And at the very least, it's something that is actually treating the human beings that make a lot of stuff we enjoy like human beings, instead of like a robot that is reprogrammed to work at company X for X amount of years, and if they go against that, they're just terminated. It's so weird to me that we lived in a country where if you wanted to go somewhere better, you had to be without a job in that field for something like 6 months to a year a lot of times. You just had to go work some random other field and hope you could get that job later. It's so bizarre to me that that was ever the case. So I think this is really, really good. It's going to become unenforceable for most workers in the United States in general in a few months. And also, the only people that are still going to be affected by this are basically senior executives. So what I'm saying is, like, people who make over 150 grand a year, as in people who are already financially secure and doing fine. If you're making over 150 grand a year, unless you are like a severe gambling addict or a drug addict or something, and you're just going ham in your off time, you probably got enough money. Those are the only people who are still going to be under non-competes. Where if you're in a policy-making place in a company, like if I was the executive, if I was the CEO of Microsoft, I couldn't leave immediately, right? If I was under a non-compete to go jump ship to another company. That's the people who are now going to be affected by this, instead of daily grind game developers or daily grind movie writers or whatever. It was so weird that we ever had this be a thing. I'm so glad to see this going out the door. And I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. I appreciate you very much. I actually got some really fun stuff, hopefully coming up tomorrow. Part 1 of Stellar Blade, we're working hard on, actually, for my Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays. That's a new big game for PlayStation, so if you're interested in watching that, that should be over there. Also, we do have as well, I'm hoping, the first look for Stellar Blade, the Is It Worth Buying, up on JayRPG for tomorrow on my other channel. So lots of fun stuff. We've been doing anime reviews over on Magical Jill, my wife's channel. And, of course, we do have a merch shop, cosmobunny.shop, where you can get all kinds of fun, creative, transformative stuff for your home, and a Fortnite code, DJAY123, which works for 10% off on Cosmo Bunny Shop as well. We hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.